Hi, Damien and Marcus from 100 Not Out here. MP,
Yes, Damo?
we all know the importance of having a diary, but who wants a boring old day planner?
Not me.
Enter the Journey of Me,
Ta-da!
the incredible 8-month wellness journal designed especially for wellness peeps like you.
Yes, Damo, this beautiful 8-month wellness guide is filled with questions, planners, exercises, reflective notes, and more. Endorsed by the Up for a Chat girls and loved the world over, the Journey of Me is a must-have if you're ready to live your best life for life.
To purchase your very own Journey of Me and receive a free set of inspirational postcards, simply enter the code COUCH at www.wellandnew.com. That's www.wellineux.com.
TheWellnessCouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives.
Welcome to Nourishing the Mother, featuring your hosts Bridget Wood and Julie Tenner.
Hello, welcome to Nourishing the Mother. I'm Julie Tenner.
And I'm Bridget Wood. And today we're talking about awakening your intuition, which is a pretty exciting episode.
I know. And more than that, this episode is sponsored.
It is. So we've got the beautiful Infinite Love Society who are sponsoring this episode, and they are gifting the women who are attending our retreat with some beautiful products. Their mission is to be the light and illuminate the world, which we just so love because we are absolutely on that journey ourselves. And
if you jump on their Facebook page or on their Instagram feed, it is just full of inspirational imagery that honestly will make your heart sing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been, I'm sure you have, but I walk into some mystic shops or crystal shops sometimes and they feel a bit soulless.
Yeah.
And like they've just got products on shelves and there's nothing.
They're often quite cluttered too.
Yes, but it's also, I feel like the crystals themselves are almost dirty. They haven't been cleansed. They haven't had intention with them. And this is completely different. I'm not even holding the physical product, and you can tell just by the image how much love and soul and intention and cleaning goes into this one product, which then only amplifies what you do with it.
Yeah, totally. And we'll get on to the whole crystal topic in a minute. But the whole, we really came to this episode thinking, okay, well, what does it mean to get on purpose and to really tune into with what you're here to do and sort of that inner wisdom that people sort of talk about in vague ways, but no one ever really knows how to do. And we'd love to explore it, first of all, with the story of Jules's, which has been this sort of past couple of weeks, hasn't it, really?
It really has been extraordinary. So I'm not sure if you've seen the feeds on Facebook, but I have just last week at Bridget's movie night launched The Pleasure Nutritionist, which has come out of a couple of weeks of just profound synchronous events and an epiphany moment of my soul's purpose, which is what we really want to pull apart today, because it was, now I look back on it and think how extraordinary that journey is, and all the things I thought about it that were imperfect and that I struggled with in my day-to-day life were perfect because of now,
because of what you've been able to reveal to yourself.
So Bridget's been working with me, as you know, while we've been doing this and peeling back my layers. And I had my third child and went, what the fuck am I doing with my life, Bridget? I don't know what I'm doing here. Yes, I'm a mum and I love it and la la la, but there's this other part of me that craves the career and the soul alignment and growth that I wasn't getting. I'm going to say just in commas, just being a mum. I don't mean that harshly, but just for me, I was, what's this other aspect of my soul and what am I doing with it? I'd been a naturopath and a nutritionist and herbalist, and I had so many issues now or then with how that was practiced, and you and I have discussed that, that my view of nutrition has moved so far beyond what the physical product is that we're putting into our mouths and into why is that problem there to start off with and what are the belief systems behind it, and once you shift the energy, there's no need for there to be a physical manifestation.
I guess, we've talked about this whole idea of, control by food and food as being that outside thing that you need to manage as opposed to looking at what's going on within. Where's that emotion manifesting that's causing disease, which is never really considered.
No. And even now I look at... a synthetic zinc tablet is not going to save you or save the world. Yeah. And I'm not trying to say, take anyone's fish oils or raw bliss balls away, but it's just that concept of you can't fix abuse with more abuse when it comes to eating. And there's so much more to why we're doing the things we're doing and why we have the things that we have than simply doing a blood test and saying, well, now I need zinc and now my hormone this is not functioning today in this moment based on the belief system that I currently have.
Yeah, which I'm not willing to go and see or reveal to myself or even know how to do, right?
So I had all, as you know, we've discussed, I had all these issues about I can't go back and just practice that, you know. So what am I doing? I'm walking away on, 5 years of study and 11 years of practice and just going, close that door. What am I doing? And not to say it hasn't served me and my family, because it has and it does every day. But I felt part of me was not comfortable with just shutting that door.
And I guess going back into practicing in that form.
In that form, totally. And then, as you know, and as you probably know from this podcast, there's been so much awakening for me of the divine feminine and sensuality and seduction. And all of these aspects, and in that I've done lots of work with just my community of women and space clearings and awakenings in them, that I was saying to Bridget, I just can't even figure out where to put that. Like, what? I don't fit in everywhere. I feel like it's my life story. I don't fit in anywhere. I don't fit in this column and I don't fit in that column. And so what am I doing? You're having
this existential crisis here.
I really was. And so that's really how Nourishing the Mother came back, because you and I were sitting there having these amazing conversations and we went, everyone should have access to this.
Sure. There must be other women who want to know this stuff.
Exactly. And because we've been doing so much on the feminine, we were just going, let's come back to our intuition and going with the flow and not needing to be in the masculine, knowing the end product and goaling it backwards. Just going, it feels good, it feels right, let's just go in flow and see where this goes. And that's how Nourishing the Mother even came about.
Absolutely.
Right? We had an intention and a feeling behind it, but we didn't ever have an end goal for it. So we started doing Nourishing the Mother, and through that, you and I have had amazing conversations beyond even what we were previously having before that podcast. And you, in the meantime, have done some amazing, I can't even believe, amazing work that you've then been able to work on with me through life coaching and entrepreneurial coaching and peeling back those layers. And I feel like in that, week even, probably a month, but particularly in the last week before I had my epiphany moment, there were so many things. You just said one thing to me. Well, we've got to look at your value systems, and we sat there and worked it out, and I had the moment of going, my top value is my family, which makes so much sense. And yes, it is, but at the same time, I was having my hate on for it.
You're almost resenting it.
I was, because I was going, I feel like such the little woman. Like, I love my family, and how can I ever have a career if my family is my top value? How am I ever going to make money in this world if my family is my top value? It's not like money is my top value.
No.
It's family. Money didn't even make it in there. So
that wasn't even the top 5.
It wasn't even. And so I'm going, Bridget, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think I'm comfortable with my values. And so we were peeling back those layers. And then you'd even said to me another comment about a day later or something that was, well, everyone is an expert with the skills they have right now. So how is it that you can create, or how can you link monetary value to your greatest value and your area that you're most inspired by? And most inspired by, And I went, oh, God, I don't even know what that means. And then I got home and I just started up a Word document and just went, okay, let's just look at passive income on the internet. What are the things that not that I will do, but that I could do with the skill set that I currently have? And so I started just a list of what are things I could do. Well, I could write a book on birth for parents, and I could write a book on being a doula, and I could do the this and the that course, or I could look at, so I was just really brainstorming what skills that I had and how that could be applied that would still work with my family being my top value. That then led on to another conversation with my husband where he's like, we should do a recipe book. I looked at him when he said that and I'm like, you're an idiot. I'm not doing a recipe book. That's ridiculous. Like, come on. And then something else happened. I can't remember what it was now. And you said something else to me and then it all can't.
No, you posted something.
Oh my gosh, yes. I did. I posted on Instagram this one particular feed on coffee, because I love coffee. And as if you've ever done any sort of nutrition or, naturopathic looking at coffee, it's the devil. It's going to strip your body. It's going to be carcinogenic and kill your system. It's, la la la. Every area of the body coffee's bad for. And so I wrote this post with coffee saying on Instagram with Nourishing the Mother, saying, you know, I know all of this stuff about coffee, but then when I look at energetically what it brings me, and it blisses me out, and it fills my goddess cup, and la 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 la. And so compared to the very mechanistic physical view of what it does to my body, it means nothing.
That's right.
And I posted that on a whim because I was just feeling it one morning as I'm drinking my coffee, and it went ballistic on the internet.
And I saw it and I commented, I'm like, oh my God, you're like the renegade naturopath.
Yes, that's right. You made that comment. And I'm not kidding. The next morning after that, I had my daughter, my sister happened to have my daughter, and she needed to go to the shop. So they were out longer than what I was expecting them to be, which was amazing because then I had this block of time on my own. And all of a sudden I was sitting there, I think I was even just eating and having a bit of a meditate, probably even listening to a podcast. And it was like, bang, went the pleasure nutritionist. And it popped into my head, and all of a sudden I went, oh my God. That's it. That's where I fit, because it's all I'm so about awakening women through their sensuality and their seductive power. That life is seductive when you awaken the feminine, and that life just, I don't know, kapow, blissfully follows out when you're sitting in that point, which brings in the spirituality, and a bit of that is self-care, self-honouring is where my nutrition viewpoint comes in. And I rang you and I went, Bridget, I've just had this moment. I'm going like this, and you're like, yes, that's amazing. And I had an hour of just intense inspiration, and I banged out in an hour an introduction.
The first chapter of the book,
The first chapter of my book, all of the like dot points on what I would write in my book, and it just exploded out. Oh my God, Bridget, I'm serious, this is amazing me. This is it. This is the reason I don't fit in anywhere, because I've got all of this information from everywhere I don't fit in. And that's the niche, right? I'm a nutritionist and a I don't know, holistic practitioner, but I'm not. And I'm a feminist, but I'm not. And I'm a mother, but I'm also not. You know, it's all of the perfection.
It's all coming together. And you can see, you can also look back and see how every single thing has led you to this point.
Exactly,
you know,
my point.
That there's nothing that shouldn't have been there because it was all on the path. Nothing is ever in the way.
Exactly, when these epiphany moments where I'm looking back now with synchronicity going, oh my gosh, the gifts out of not fitting in. I did more research. I created my own communities. I formed my tribe. I found new opinions and new pockets, and all of the gifts of the things that I struggled with.
We're all helping you to reveal these parts of yourself too.
And it wasn't, though, admittedly, until I'd had that coaching with you, or you had specifically targeted, you went, okay, instead of us just chatting, you'd spent even half an hour with me over 3 days.
I think I challenged you on some things too.
You really did.
Yeah.
You really did. But it was so powerful that it was like half an hour and I would go home and think about that. And then the next day I'd say, but these are the problems I'm having out of this. And you'd spend half an hour and we'd just work through that. And I'd go, okay, but here's the problem out of this. And then you'd work through those beliefs. And it was like, bang, as soon as I cleared that stuff, I went, this is it. This is me with still my family as my top value system, bringing all of the wisdom that I already have that I thought I had none of or was sitting in that place of. I think I can really be of service to women that are struggling in all of those areas.
And it's beautiful. And I guess I really feel like every single person here has something there that they yearn to do. But that, you know, like we kind of tell ourselves we can, you know, we put our practical hat on, we put our responsible hat on, and we say all the reasons why we can't do something. And particularly if you're just in something that doesn't fit in the box, you know, if you're not kind of like the person who wants to go and be an accountant, or the person who wants to go and be a teacher or a nurse, or anything that's kind of prescribed for you and there as a ready-made profession to plug into, you start to think, well, what's wrong with me? Why don't I fit? Like, where's my niche? What do I have to give? But the ultimate gift to everyone in the world is to give the gift of who you truly are and where your wisdom most lies.
And I feel like that's something you only really get that sentence when you get what your service to this world is, when you get what your purpose is or your calling. Like, I feel like that sentence, it was kind of such a vague concept to me, you know, that whole do what you love what you do. I feel like it gets thrown
it
out
does.
there.
And, you know, you see it on Instagram all the time. It's like a constant feed, or, you know, just be happy or be positive, or, you know, just kind of align with your soul purpose. And people go on these kind of random goose chase for this purpose that seems to be so elusive to them, or that must seem so outside of themselves. But yet when you come back to, you're, creating that space for introspection, creating a space to challenge yourself and your thinking and your, dominant beliefs.
Because what's the definition of insanity? Is approaching the same problem the same way.
And that's what Albert Einstein said. Exactly. You can't grow from that. But yet, so often we surround ourselves with people who continue to support the way that we think or the way that we do things, and so that further entrenches those behaviours, and then we don't think outside that. And I guess that's what I was kind of offering you, was a couple of challenging points on how to think about that.
I am. I can't tell you. I feel like everyone anywhere should have life-stage entrepreneurial coaching with Bridget, because it's so profound.
Man, I just still feel like I think I need the same thing. So
I feel like that's not you not owning the genius that you currently own. We're always kind of going,
we are not that, and we're comparing ourselves, right? And it's exactly what you do. I think Emerson said that. Envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide. We're always looking for the person who we perceive as above us, who has more knowledge than us, but then we're then negating the gifts that we offer those around us who might not have, be where we're at, in terms of that thinking.
Well, exactly. I don't have the skill set that you had, and there's no way I could have got to the point of realizing what my gifts are for what I feel like in my gut is my soul calling.
But yet I would have said to you that you have such a strong intuition that I don't feel like I have. And in fact, I'm being coached on that at the moment to see that, I do have it, but I'm trying to look for it in a way that it's not actually there. You try and sort of call on it, in a moment or in a way that other people might use it, but that it's not how you use it. And it's about saying to listen to, okay, well, what's my way? When do I act with most inspiration? What is causing me to act in a way that feels so true to myself? Well, that's your intuition talking to you. That's your intuition. And we wanted to talk a little bit about how to awaken.
Because I would love everyone to have this moment. I feel so inspired by the synchronous events and the conversations that we've had, by the layers of stuff that I've peeled back to realize my dream, I suppose, and to the feeling of knowing with all of your heart and all of your body that this is your calling is extraordinary. How amazing a place is that to sit in, because that transforms your life. Yeah. It transforms the interactions you have with people around you. It transforms your relationships.
And I think the key too is to be looking at how to find that would benefit the things that are most important to you. Because often as mothers we say, oh no, well, I can't do that because that's taking away from my family. But I see in you, this has been the biggest gift for your family, because ultimately the greatest teacher is exemplification for our children. If they can see us living in alignment with what's true for us, as opposed to resenting going to work or resenting this or resenting that and living out of ingratitude, that's not really what we want to teach them, is it?
Yes.
What we want to teach them is how to tune into their own intuition, how to kind of celebrate their own unique gifts, which are totally different to the kid next to them. And yet, we live in a society which tends to homogenize children and homogenize all of us to fit into a box.
It's so true, isn't it?
So it's an enormous gift to give yourself and your family.
It's that role modelling, isn't it? How do you role model? We all say to our kids, just be you, because you're amazing. Yeah. But if someone said that to you,
what would you do with that?
Yeah. Exactly. And the thing is, they're never going to really get it as a pathway until you're leading what that pathway is.
That's right. Which can be hard. We don't always, before we even started this podcast, we both talked about those moments where we feel really uninspired, because that's going to happen. You can't sustain this constant state of, fire in your belly for your purpose, because that's not, we're humans. We have human emotion. We have outside factors that are going to pull us away from that, but it's just about coming back in and getting present and having another perspective to somebody to offer you to kind of get you back into balance. But there's a number of practices that you can do, and I'd love to hear for you, Julie, what you because you've kind of, I see you as somebody who's quite connected to their intuition and would have quite a good toolkit for how you strengthen that. And because ultimately the stronger you can build your intuition, the more you're going to be able to call on that and act with inspiration that's in alignment with what's true for you, as opposed to feeling like what you should be doing based on what somebody else tells you or what you see someone else doing.
Totally. Thank you, Bridget.
Pleasure.
I feel like that's been a life's work. Okay, let's talk about intuition. How do you guide it? Well, there's loads of different things, or let's say tuning into your intuition is a toolkit, like anything else, like your parenting toolkit or your, cooking toolkit. You have an intuition toolkit, and sometimes something's going to work for you and sometimes something isn't. And I think you've got to remember, particularly when we're sitting in our feminine and if we're sitting in our cycles, there's going to be certain times of our monthly cycle that we're just, those gateways are thin and we're like right open in our intuition and thriving in it, and there's times we're going to be resisting it because our energy wants to be outwards rather than inwards.
Yeah.
So I think there's a bit of different toolkits because at different times you're going to be feeling different things, right? So I really think for me that's what sensuality is. We talk a lot about how do you peel back, how do you make sexy safe, and how do you make sexy safe is by sitting in your sensuality. Right? The greatest seductresses of the world were not the most beautiful women. They were the women that so deeply sat in their gut that they were able to act always out of intuition, that guiding non-seen force in relationships, in conversations, in where they might touch or purpose themselves is all intuition based. So you can't awaken a feminine magnetic sexuality unless you're willing to walk down the path of intuition, because otherwise you're just looking at a very physical masculine manifestation of sexuality, which now of course is pornography or tight tops and tiny skirts.
In that model, there's no concept or awareness of energy and how to use energy.
That's exactly right.
Which is really what
the feminine is. Yes, exactly. So how do you tune into your intuition? I think is a load of different steps, and the more that you do it, the clearer it gets and the easier it gets. So of course there's meditation, but I feel like that's for some people unobtainable because meditation feels, well, I can't just blank my mind out and I can't just sit for half an hour or whatever it is. So meditation, I think, can be many different things. I think we have this format that it has to be, yogic position with our eyes closed and we're Meditation can be visualization. Meditation can be, those moments where you almost feel like you're on autopilot when you're driving. In a way, that's a type of meditation, because I bet when you're doing that, your mind's traveling somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's what happens. Anything that you're doing on autopilot gives space to more deeper work.
Exactly.
So driving can really serve that.
Exactly. And meditation is really just a word that says, for me, it's not so much about blankness as about allowing space for new thought patterns to come through or new conversations to happen. And I really loved in our love bombing episode that we did with Bree that even in terms of ourselves and with our kids is, well, what do you want right now? And I think when we're awakening the feminine, that's the first place you've got to start is, what do you desire? What is it that your body is yearning for right now? And just having that moment to check in, like if I'm wanting to make lunch, I'll spend that minute to go, what is it I really want? Is it eggs on toast? Is it, I don't know, avocado with butter? Like, I don't know, what is it that I really want? Is it a great big whack of chocolate cake and cream? Because nutrition is so much about how it feels in our body and less about what we're physically doing on a linear level. But that's intuition. What do I want right now is a way of tuning into what your gut is telling you. So that's an everyday momentary thing you can do. When you're in autopilot, when you're zoning out, when you're hanging the washing on the line, when you're walking on the road.
Gardening, watering the plants,
Anything that just kind of relaxes everything in your brain and allows you just to kind of wander. Listening to a story, anything. Storytelling is incredibly powerful for awakening our intuition because it speaks so deeply to where we've come from. Story has always been part of who we are. So any meditation isn't just sitting in stillness. So I really want to transform what that means. But they're all ways of getting in touch with your intuition. I think then I do branch out a little bit sometimes, and I do dabble in a bit of tarot cards or affirmation cards. And sometimes it's not even about knowing how to run a deck. If you go into any New Age store and you see a load of tarot cards, that you just pick the one that you love the look of, the pictures that you're most attracted to, and don't even worry about the rest of it. And then I just sit there, and usually what you do is you tap it 3 times, the deck, to clear energy out of it before you ever use them. Shuffle them, just spend a moment thinking about whatever your problem is or the thing is that you're going, and then just randomly pick one out. Or sometimes I have a stack that actually sit by my front door, and it's amazing how many times they get knocked as people are walking in and out, and I just pay attention to whichever one's on the top or whichever one falls out. There's all these ways of just looking at where are those signs coming from.
And there is no right way, because you'll perceive what you need to perceive out of that.
Of course, but that is intuition.
Yeah.
That is not, intuition is if it's a little bit scary and a little bit murky and you don't really understand the why. That's the feminine intuition. If you knew the why, you'd be in the masculine.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas the feminine is all about following without knowing the end product or the end result. And I certainly do use, I know we're talking about infinite love with our podcast here, but I do use crystals and always have. And I did a crystal course years and years ago that talked about programming crystals. So, and I've taught that in all of the space clearings I've ever done with women, is how do you clear a product, and it can be anything.
And I love that, because I really haven't been exposed to that, and it was so beautiful.
So
you know, for my 30th birthday, you got me this gorgeous necklace with citrine, and citrine is the crystal for sort of success and kind of bringing in power and awakening that energy, which is such a beautiful, you know, premise. I love it.
I love so much now that crystals are coming back into jewellery in really cool ways, because it is extraordinary. And even we all wear diamond rings on our fingers, or most of us, or some sort of crystal of some sort for our wedding rings, right? That is a crystal. You can program that. Wow. That can be energy that you're wearing. And what if you could program an intent and you're putting it on your body, and that is interacting with how you're
living your life, living your day.
How your energy is functioning during that day, where your thought processes go, potentially how open your intuition is in that moment, depending on what crystal you're using, what intent you're having. So whenever you're cleansing a crystal, do you know, I wouldn't even worry. I know there's so many crystal books, but I wouldn't even worry about, I need this crystal for love, and I need this crystal for money, and I need this. Like, I just wouldn't even worry. I would literally walk in and I take my kids in and I go, just pick whatever you feel like. Which one do you love? Whichever one you love will be the perfect one. Whichever one you're drawn to is exactly what you need. Yeah. So don't think any further than that. You can do your research on it later. Yeah. But just when you're walking in and you're looking for something, or you're scrolling through the internet, you know, on a shop page.
And that's coming back to trust, isn't it? Because so often
that's an intuition practice.
If we don't know about something, we'll often look to people who we think that we know, who know. Yes. And we'll often like inject what they would do. Yes. But in fact, it's like, just give yourself permission, just go and do it. Just go and get something that speaks to you in a way that you might not understand yet, but it'll be okay. It'll be perfect.
Exactly. And so then I spend time talking to women about their auras, and we do a practice of holding that object and cleaning it. So I see in my head that product sitting in my hand or in my energy, and I see my energy sort of swirling around it and cleaning it in bright white light until it's so clean that it's sparkling, and I can say the word clean in my head. I can visualize that as in a picture, and I just say to the women, you'll know when it's clean. You'll just go, that's enough now, don't want to do it anymore, or it feels clean for some reason. You don't even have to know what that reason is. And then that crystal is completely clean for you to use. So either you're going to place that crystal just because it's that crystal somewhere in your house or on your body, or you're going to program it. And programming it is a way to, because energy is, other way around. Crystals are energy. We even use them in modern day technology, in computers and laser beams. We know that they intensely attract energy, transform energy, and create such intent that we can use them in a laser beam, right? Yeah. But you can do that with energetic purpose. So I can program my crystal with what I want it to resonate for me, or a belief system, or a pattern, or a word. And that will, when I'm wearing it or putting it down, will instantly create that energetic frequency, let's say, which I'm then sitting in, or my kids are sitting in, or whatever. Yeah. So I then think about the word or the statement that I want that crystal to resonate with, and I make a picture or a colour or a word in my head, and I think in my mind that that's transferring and swirling and creating into that crystal. And again, I just trust that I know when that's done. And when it's done, then I place it wherever I want to place it. So I use dark, really grounding crystals. So your black and your grey kind of crystals I actually plant by my front fence and put by my front door. And they are specifically, I've programmed those specifically like almost like a gateway, that whoever walks into this house, they leave their baggage out of there. So the baggage stays by the front door, all those crystals absorb it, and they compost it into energy that creates their energy. So because what I was finding was when I had my practice way back, and I was counselling people, there was this energy that they were bringing with them that was staying in my house. And then I had my little children moving around in that, and I felt completely uncomfortable with that. That's actually why I branched off into doing a crystal course. And that has made the most profound difference, because I don't have a particularly fancy house, but you can walk in there and go, ah.
And that's so true, because your house does have that feeling, like, and especially when you and I first started these levels of discussion that we now have, you know, for the world to hear, that I would really feel that, you know, and I mean, and partly it was also probably potentially because you had your baby in your home, and there was a lot of work that was done around creating that space for that. Yes, totally. You could really feel that.
Yeah, thank you. And I actually have this one particular crystal that's shaped like a flat sort of oval, and it's a quartz. And that one is almost, I use it almost like a massage stone. So I program whatever I want my kids to work, or my husband to work on, and I program that into the crystal, and then with a bit of oil, I'll rub their backs or the soles of their feet or something with it.
Beautiful.
Oh, yeah, there's so many amazing things you can do, and I just trust, or I program something like love or acceptance or whatever, and I trust that wherever that's going to land, it's going to land with them. But I use crystals all the time. I wear them, I put them in my house, I massage my kids with them, I plant them. I've created a grid to kind of create a safe place for my home, which is funny actually, because my next door neighbour sees clients, and she had a psychic client come in, and she said to me, oh my God, I have to tell you, this client sat there and went, wow, that's an amazing energy next door with that tree. It's full of amazing spirits. And I went, really? Oh my God, yay! Because that's so what I've been working on.
That's fantastic.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But that's all intuition. You know, guiding intuition doesn't have to be big, and it doesn't have to be scary, and it doesn't have to be, now I can hear the other side of the world or spirits talking to me.
No, and I think it's also just a willingness to get quiet and listen. Like, I mean, there's a practice that I've been doing, which is at the end of every day, and some days it works, some days it doesn't. But if I can get quiet enough and introspective enough, I sit in sort of a meditative state and do take a few deep breaths and sort of get really present. And then I will kind of think back over my life and think about the whole people that I want to thank, and which is the people that have challenged
that
me.
idea. Since you said that to me, I've started doing that too. I love that idea.
Basically, who are the people in your life that have made up the fabric of your life, and you know, whoever comes to mind, and thank them for what they've offered you. And sometimes it'll be people who you think, oh, I don't want to thank that person because, you know, they did blah 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 to me, but in fact that person was absolutely giving you gifts. And so how can you see those? And you continue to do this until the point at which you have tears of gratitude, or you have a physiological shift in your body that basically then means that you've shifted your energy and created healing, you know, really with that moment. And then once you've felt that, you then say to yourself, you ask your higher self, and you say, you know, my soul, what is my purpose here? What is a mission that you have put me here to fulfill? And you know, you might get some words or a feeling or a pull in a direction. And just have a pen and paper nearby and just write down a couple of things. And if you can do this, you know, every day, or, you know, whenever you're feeling it, it just starts to slowly strengthen that intuition. That connection, that it's basically telling yourself or your higher self, I'm listening. You know, what can you offer me to learn more about what I'm here to do? Because we talk a lot about this, you and I, that there is no mistakes here. We are here to do something bigger than perhaps what we perceive we're here to do, which is beautiful often that we don't know that, because it allows us to live in this physical human world and with our physical human challenges, which all ultimately help us grow.
Which all serve anyway.
That's exactly right. But if we can start to just trust that there is a high purpose for why we're here, and that if we can start to flex that muscle, that, you know, the intuition, we start to see that more clearly, with more clarity, and see also too that, you know, the things that we might have thought were taking us away from where we need to go are actually totally on the way. And the people that we might think are getting in the way are helping us to reveal to ourselves more of who we are, to more clearly awaken that path.
Yes. Oh, you know I love that stuff.
You do. I can see your face just softening here.
Yes. But I think that's simple, isn't it? Like the love bombing, it's tuning into, in any moment, whenever you feel like you've got the time to say to yourself, what do I want right now? In the quiet times, just listening if there's anything there. When I light a candle, I might take a second just to stare into that flame and say to that flame, do you have any messages for me? Because it's amazing the weird words or things that will pop into your head. And it's about not putting that other mind on that goes, oh, that's rubbish, oh, I'm making that up, or I'm creating that thought process. It's just being open, like you said, almost creating that connection of saying, okay, I am really going to listen. And you just go with it, because the thing is, the more you go with it, the more it happens. Yeah, that's right. And the stronger that muscle gets. And often, you know, you might get fear talk to you because you go, no, that's not what I want. But still just listen to it, you know, and it won't always be. Sometimes it'll be a bit of a mind trick, you know, it'll throw in words and things that you kind of question, but put it down, you know, because it'll start to become that stream of consciousness. Yeah, it'll start to become, there'll be patterns in it, there'll be insights in it for you. Yes, I so totally. And I actually love what you were saying about just before you're about to head into that sleepy stage of night, because we're all in bed. We don't not have the time to do it. And it's moving, and I think sleep's beautiful to think about in terms of moving from one dream world, which is the world we inhabit now, which really is no fixed world, it's a world based on the reality that we're perceiving, into another dream world, which is when we all sleep and connect to the collective consciousness. Because how many people say, without thinking about it that deeply, say, I woke up with the answer, or at 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and it popped into my head. Well, it's because you've gone to bed with an intention.
And also, and when we sleep, we process. So we process what's happened to our day.
And connect with our higher selves.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've got those two things happening. Sleeping is incredibly powerful. What if you could go to bed with an intention or a mantra or a thought process?
It's really powerful.
And stream of consciousness next to you, ready to write if anything comes up.
Yeah. And the going to bed with a sense of gratitude is really powerful because it then you're growing every day then. I mean, you're growing anyway, but you're bringing consciousness to your growth as a person, as a human. You know, and I've always sort of felt now with what I'm learning is, you know, it's wiser to govern yourself in that. Than attract outside governance to force you to grow. I mean, how can you see the gifts and everything that's offered to you in your day? Whether you perceive that as good or bad, what does it offer you to get?
How does it serve you?
Yeah, how does it serve you? Yeah. And that will, you know, it's a practice to get connected to your high purpose, and it's a practice to connect to your intuition.
I totally agree. Oh my goodness.
And on the topic of crystal, going back to crystals, the Infinite Love Society are gifting every woman who comes to our retreat on the 8th of November some gorgeous rose quartz. Which, tell me about rose quartz. I want to know all about it.
Oh, well, look, I mean, rose quartz is the crystal of love, right? It's this beautiful, fluffy pink colour. Often it's in really rounded shapes.
Yeah, it's really quite soft too, isn't it? Like, it's really smooth.
Yeah, it is. So it's really the crystal of infinite, unconditional love. And that doesn't matter if it's what type of love it is that you're after. Self-love, body love, food love, partnership love, children, family, dynamic love. It doesn't matter what it is. If you're wanting to amplify the love and harmony that's in your relationships within yourself or within your community, that's the stone for you. And we always say that rose quartz, you know, you always plant, I'm going to get this wrong, I should have looked it up. I think it's the top left corner of your home. I'll look it up. But anyway, there is a particular place to plant them when you're gridding your home, to plant your rose quartz crystal. It does also work with electromagnetic radiation. So if you're getting things from your smart meter or your computer or your phone, I often put rose quartz with them. I can even just blue tack them on.
Yeah.
Once I've cleaned them and programmed them. And I do wear a lot of rose quartz. So even if it's not jewellery, I'll, you know, program it and I'll stick it in my pocket, or I'll stuff it down my bra, or I'll keep it in my wallet, or whatever it is that I'm wanting to have more love and harmony in or with, even if it's communication, you know, whatever that is. That's what I'm using that for. And it's definitely the stone for connecting menstrual cycle, menstrual flow, menstrual problems as much as it is divine feminine awakening of
well, it's all that fertility story.
So it is a really universal stone. So I'm thrilled that Infinite Love will be gifting our goddesses. I'm going to say that. I'm really excited. And I would love you to jump on the Infinite Love website, Infinite Love Society website, or Facebook page or Instagram feed, and just see the amazingness that's there, because it will be inspirational. And I guarantee there'll be a crystal or a product that jumps out at you and calls to your soul, and you don't have to know why. You just go for it, because that's another link to trusting your intuition, and the more you trust it, the more it comes.
Yeah, love that.
And I really want to say, which you and I were saying we haven't talked about with our retreats, is the layers that we're pulling apart with those systems. And I would really love you, Bridget, because you're going to be mostly leading that part, because it's really only through what you have to offer that I've come to aligning with what I think is my soul purpose and getting it out there in the world. And I would love, well, every woman that's coming is virtually going to go through that process that I've gone through.
Yeah, we're really going to sort of begin early in the day with that, because I think so often as mothers, and anyone really, we tend to sort of inject the values of others to think how we should be a certain way, or we're looking outside ourselves for the answer. And we beat ourselves up, we beat ourselves up on those things, and we'll live through our day, we'll resent ourselves and we'll resent our family. So really, before we do any of the deep inner work, it's quite important to get really clear on what your values are. And that's not what, you value integrity or you value honesty. They're kind of superlatives. What we really are talking about here is what's your life demonstrating is most important to you. And there's a series of questions that you can ask yourself to get clarity on that.
To that point. And then how do you align, if it's not where you want it to be, how do you align your success and your finances to sit in your highest value?
Yeah, and because you can start to do like linking processes through, we know with neuroplasticity you can kind of remanate the brain to perform different functions, and so you can actually, perhaps if finance or saving money is number 8, well, clearly you're probably going to have more month at the end of your money than money at the end of your month. So it's okay, well, how does saving money serve values 1, 2, 3, and 4? And so you can start to see that as part of being on the way to achieving what's most important to you, as opposed to something that you resent or is in the way for you. So we really want to go through some practices around that and some things to take away, because our retreat's not just a one-day thing. It's a workbook of resources to really help you in your life and kind of continue to work on peeling back. So I'm really excited about that.
Me too. I keep thinking about our workbook, and I keep thinking, I wish I had access to that 5 years ago. I think everything we're putting into our workbook is stuff that you can't get anywhere together. You know, it's almost the pooling of all. Anyway, I'm going on, but I'm really excited about our workbook.
We're going to use our workbook.
So we would love you to rate our iTunes podcast or share it if it's really speaking to you with friends or loved ones. Come and have a conversation with us on our Facebook page. Tune into our Instagram feed because I'm loving it.
Yeah, Julie's on fire on Instagram.
And certainly Facebook is Nourishing the Mother. And
if you want to connect with me, Bridget, I'm at suburbsandcastles.com. Our next event is in
You beat me to the punchline, about to go.
I know.
What's your next event?
I know the drill. It's Project Wild Thing, so it's a fascinating film. It's quite a funny look at how much kids are addicted to technology and how to get them more back into nature. But what I don't want it to be is this whole screen's a bad thing, because no mother needs to be told that their child's watching too much TV. You know, so it's really actually how can we use technology in a way that is enriching to our kids, you know, and how can we not see it as bad?
As opposed to just getting them off it.
Exactly right, so it's going to be a discussion, you know, on that topic, which is going to be really interesting.
I'm really excited about that too.
And we'll catch Julie at...
Well, at the moment, it's still naturopathic birth, but I do have the Pleasure Nutritionist website and blog coming soon.
And you've got the Facebook page.
And I have Facebook page and Instagram feed for I suppose they're Nourishing the Mother, Pleasure Nutritionist, which I'm really excited about. And I am definitely going to feed into the Pleasure Nutritionist some of my really, you know, sensual, seductive rituals around food. So definitely connect in with those. So until next week, when we continue to peel back the layers on your mothering journey.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/The Wellness Couch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.